the meeting to order. Welcome everyone. Happy New Year to all of you. I want to thank everybody, including my colleagues, for making the Police District Council the 14th one of the very best. And I also want to extend, they asked not to be identified, but I'm going to identify him by position. Our staff member that's been diligently working to make certain these are executed properly. So thank you, and it's great to see the good turnout. And I hope everyone's on their way to making 2024 a prosperous and productive new year. Moving forward, let's go ahead and we'll take roll call. Councilor Vargas.
Present.
And Councilor Orlikov.
Present.
And I am Councilor Laurent. And we are all here, which gives us a quorum. So we'll go ahead and move on. Okay, first and foremost, what we're going to do is we're going to open up to public comments. The rules regarding public comment, as it's posted on the agenda, which we have on the back table there if you don't have a copy with you. We're going to give 20 minutes total, but 2 minutes per speaker. This is more of a public address to where you're going to basically state your comment. It's not a question and answer, so to speak. And we'll have time for open discussions, or if you'd like to ask one of us directly, feel free to do such after the meeting. Okay, that being said, do we have any public comments? Public comments going once. Going twice.
I guess I'll
Please.
go. Can I just take it from here?
That's absolutely perfect.
Okay. I'm Milan. I live in the neighborhood, and I work with the organization that passed the ordinance that got these counselors elected. Just 2 weeks ago, there was a vote on city council floor. I don't know if you all know about it, related to the police department seeking arbitration, which is a behind closed doors process for officers accused of serious misconduct, the most egregious things. And fortunately, we beat that. We beat that back, and city council opposed that. And so that process is going to stay within the public process of hearings and investigation around police officers committing egregious crimes. That will remain in the public eye. However, the day before, only because of a FOIA request, details of the police union contract leaked out, and they weren't supposed to leak out. It was just because someone had submitted a FOIA request. And I'll give you some details. Maybe our counselors might go through it later, but just some little excerpts for it. The contract, the police union contract, added new protections for officers, including time limits on how long internal investigations can take place before potential discipline, new restrictions on when and where body-worn cameras can be active, and whether body-worn camera footage can be used in disciplinary proceedings. If you need the link, basically, long story short, we did beat back this arbitration process, but at the same time, the police union was able to push through a contract that was basically 1 step forward and 2 steps back. And if it wasn't for a FOIA request, we wouldn't have even known about it. The city council would have voted on a union contract that we didn't even see anything of, which is, that's an affront to the entire democratic process. And so I just want to, level set for this meeting. This council was established to fight for police accountability, and at every step of the way, when we've been trying to fight for more public input and more public say in policing, the police has only sidestepped and tried to find ways to get around things. And so I want everyone in this room to understand that there's nothing wrong with the democratic say in how police operates. That should be something that we want, because it's oftentimes a life or death implications. So that's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other public comment? Please.
Neil Risdell, Industrial Workers of the World. About 200 of us didn't get in to the city council meeting because it was packed. So we were down on the first floor raising hell for a couple of hours. Just an encouragement, if you don't make it into the second round that we're gonna have to deal with on this issue, and you're with a whole bunch of people down on the first floor, feel free to disrupt business as usual. Cause as much civil disturbance as possible.
Thank you, Mr. Risdall. Any other public comments? All right, we're gonna go ahead and count that as closing out public comment. All right, next on our agenda is approval of minutes from the last meeting. We did circulate, as we were allowed to do, via email with staff and CC'd on that. We did circulate the November and December meetings because we were a little delinquent in our duties as far as getting them expedited. According to the Open Meetings Act, we have 2 months to have them approved, and then within 10 days of approval, they're published. So that being said, do you want to look at November, or were there any issues that we needed to contend with on there?
Yeah, could we start with November? So unfortunately, I don't have a copy, I can pull it up on my phone, of the version that was circulated. I'd like to ask a clarifying question to our staff member. Are the November minutes currently posted online?
I'm checking.
Okay, thank you. We weren't sure if those were pre-approved already or not, but I have some amendments.
No.
Okay, cool. I gave a copy on your chair as well. In the public comment section, or I think there are a couple spelling corrections for the names, Jeff Tischhauser, Neil Risdall. I added a little bit more clarification to the public comments. Adam Balling, I don't have the initial version, but spoke about the importance of investigating corruption and illegal activity by elected officials and their connections to members of law enforcement, is the addition. For Jeff Tischhauser, also additional context, it said, so yeah, stress concerns that the policy on affiliation with extremist groups is a positive step, but should be amended so that no list is held in private by the Counterterrorism Bureau of CPD and is instead operated by public criteria or an outside agency like OIG or with public involvement of the Southern Poverty Law Center. He had specific.
Do you have a copy of these digitally that you can share?
Oh, this one's for you. I will share it digitally. Yes, I will share it digitally as well. To Neil Risdall's comments, echoing the concerns, added the context, the history of McCarthyism and the Red Squad. And then there was a missing comment from Nicholas Hernandez that I added from the recording.
Okay.
So those are the public comments, and then I have on the votes, but is there discussion for this portion?
Do we have any objections as amended?
No objections here.
Okay, can I get a motion to pass the minutes as amended?
Oh, should we go over the
Oh, yeah,
vote
yeah,
part?
that's fine.
Okay, sorry. I just wasn't sure if we were gonna talk about that. Okay, in the votes, I added the specific language of the 3 general directives that the Free to Move Coalition researched and is proposing. So just making it very specific to the actual request.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay, any changes that you see?
No.
Okay, so can I get a motion to pass as amended?
Motion to pass as amended?
Pass the November minutes.
Yes.
So the motion on the floor is to pass the November meeting minutes as amended by Council Orlikoff. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Minutes are passed. All right, do we want to move on to December minutes? Or-
I have not had a chance to review those.
Okay.
Are there any copies available?
I don't have any copies
Okay.
with me, unfortunately. They're still available for review. If November's not published, safe to assume that December is not as well. So, tell you what, give you 5 more days to look at the digital version and provide any feedback that you have. My goal is to have these wrapped up prior to the follow-on meeting. Being the fact that this is January, it would be very appropriate to have these approved and ready for the public's review after such. That being said, we're extending 5 days for the circulated minutes for edits and any kind of amendments that need to be made. Once those are approved, we will publish those and it'll be ready for public digestion.
So, sorry, for clarity, is that by Thursday?
So the way that the minutes approval process works, especially with the email circulation, the 3 of us, we're all included on the email, so no one's left out. Plus, we also involve the staff, so we're not violating any Open Meetings Act. The general rule of thumb that's been expressed previously is that once they're put out there, give everyone 5 days to go through it, make any amendments or changes as they do. Once the last edits are made, after 5 days have passed, then they're approved, and they go within 10 days of approval, they get published. So,
But so by Thursday the 11th. Sorry, is that or,
right. Well, we can extend it to Friday if you
that's fine.
if you need.
Okay.
Is that
Okay, that's fine.
Friday's good.
okay? So that's the 13th,
Friday the 12th.
12th. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So moving forward, okay. District council member updates. Let's hear how your holidays went and all the good things that you've been doing for the district council. Let's start with Councilor Orlikoff.
Okay, we'll start the timer and try to not go forever. So first on arbitration, there was a public comment. We did have a victory, and it was hard fought, including members of this community. We needed 30 votes in city council, and we got 33, including every alderperson representing the 14th district. And that was an important win. Unfortunately, the arbitration is still, the battle is still ongoing. It will go to a second round of voting in city council before probably going to courts. So we will have to vote again, and it may be important to rally in the same way to make sure that all 4 alder people here at least are still committed to voting in the same way. There's additional, if you would like to see what the 41 district councilors, the letter we signed about police arbitration, that's available on the table, as well as the comparison between the police board and arbitration by the president of the police board. That's all for arbitration. Other things. Last year, we had our first annual meeting of the district councils, and at that meeting, we presented what were the 5 most agreed upon priorities that we sent as a letter to the Community Commission for Public Safety and Accountability. The commission, we'll hear more about them later, but they're a 7-member body representing all of the city that has sort of more, they're sort of a level above us. We help, Ashley will nominate them, and we need people to apply starting Monday, but they get feedback from the district council about what's needed in the community, and they have more power to act on that. So the letter I referred to before we started is available there on the table as well, including the 5 priorities. I'll say just a quick thing about that. I'm not going to read it all, but the as far as things that we did in this 14th District Council in 2023, there were 2 resolutions that we passed by vote here, calling for action from the commission. One of those was to publicly list 911 call response time in a searchable manner, and the other was to end the pre-textual traffic stops. So neither of those, I did propose those, and neither is specifically listed as its own criteria. However, or as its own priority, I should say. However, they are somewhat contained within one of the points here that was passed. And that would be the second point, set a goal for Superintendent Snelling to reduce 911 response times in an equitable manner. And there are a couple of paragraphs expanding on that somewhat. Available data shows that officer response times to priority 911 calls lag behind the times in other major cities. Even more concerning, the response times varied widely from district to district, with particularly prolonged response times in Black and brown communities. As President Driver stated in his cover letter to the 2024 report on the CPD budget, your zip code should not determine your worthiness when you call for help. District council members call for the commission to set a goal for the superintendent on improving response times using an evidence-based and community-informed approach that prioritizes data transparency, community input, and efficacious resource allocation. Beyond setting this goal, the commission should consider holding a hearing on the issue of response times, look into policy opportunities, and take other steps to work with the district councils to generate comments from constituents across the city. The ultimate goal is to achieve citywide improvements in response times, particularly in neighborhoods facing disproportionately delayed police responses. So the part about prioritizing data transparency can relate to the 911 call reporting. Community input and efficacious resource allocation can relate to the traffic stop issue. So it's not specifically named, but it's within that second goal. I don't think that unless people demand it of us, I'm not planning to read through all of it, but it is available, and if you have questions or anything, we can discuss that more. That's all for now on our annual priorities and last year. Moving on. 1 second, please. There's also information on applying to the commission, but I think that Councilor Vargas is going to handle that. So a couple committee updates. And I've called them committees, but they do not have delegated powers or authority. Essentially, they're more like working groups because it's just for discussions outside of public comments in order to get more feedback and be available for different types of conversations. So the Restorative Justice or Alternative Responses and Safety Solutions Community Committee is temporarily suspending regular meetings due to capacity, and everyone is instead encouraged to attend these monthly meetings of the council, and also we will start communicating through email about different activities that individuals or groups might be part of and want to spread the word around. So you can always let me know if you're interested in trying to get involved with that group. The other community committee for police accountability has met consistently, did meet again. The 3 things that were discussed include reforming the CAPS beat meetings to be more responsive, meaningful, and accessible. And also the agenda for the new sector meetings, which are happening now in 2024, which are for combined beats. So Sally Heyman, who's here, is interested in making sure that those spaces are accessible, that they're responsive to the needs of the community. Second topic of concern is placing the burden of paying for police misconduct on officers themselves or on the police department. This is an issue that has been raised in public comments and has also been discussed in that space. So I emailed our department's counsel, the lawyer, as well as our policy director, asking for some advisement on the present layout, and if that was something we were trying to change, where could we go about doing that? My initial understanding is that there are different layers, but I believe the police contract is one area that helps define this, as well as potentially some city ordinances, and also nationally there's sort of a legal precedent called qualified immunity. So we probably so there are things to look into. So I may have more updates in the future. Lastly, on revising the bias association order and creating a police misconduct database, including what would be Brady List violations for false statements in court. That's also of continued concern. That's all for the committee updates. I don't have a future date yet for the next meeting. I will publish that to the people who've indicated interest, if not everyone. Next point, very quickly, the Mayor's Office of Community Safety had an event and released a public safety plan, which is supposed to be an ongoing thing that involves community input throughout the plan. There's a couple sheets on that over there. I'm not really an insider or representative of that, but I think people have asked previously about the mayor's plans in public safety, so want to make sure that everyone's aware. That might be it. I think that's it. Sorry. Yeah. That's it. Thank you.
So, just to be clear, that's your council update and your committee update.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, thanks.
Just-
Sorry, I guess I combined that.
Just to be clear, for when we get there. I don't want it to look like I'm.
No, yeah, we got you. Thank
overshadowing
you.
there. All right, Counselor Vargas, any updates?
Why don't you go next?
Okay, well, I pretty much said a lot of what I have to say. I'm looking forward to a fruitful 2024 and delivering all of our promises to you when you went to the ballot box and elected each of us. We've been navigating quite terse, I think is probably a good word to use, quite a terse navigation pool as far as the language being used in public disseminated information, so that's something I'm working on. I'll get to my committee updates in just a little bit, but that's pretty much a lot of what I have to talk about, so. Councilor Vargas.
Sure. So my updates is I've been going to meetings frequently regarding the application that's opening up on January 8th, which is applying for the commission. We have a sheet that looks like this. Their responsibility is a lot. So that includes setting police department policies and also reviewing the police budget. If you all know of anybody who is a leader in the community and who may qualify for this position, please encourage them to apply. It opens January 8th and it closes February 7th. If you know of any youth, I think that's where we're having, where we need a little more help in finding qualified applicants. So please send people this information so they can stay on a 7-member council citywide to change police policy. Another update is regarding police accountability. So as you all know, there's been incidents where police show up to a volunteer's home when there were migrants staying at the police station, and they show up to a home with very large guns. When I met with the migrant, we filed a COPA complaint, and then after filing that COPA complaint, a few weeks later, she received a pretty menacing call from the 14th Police District. Is her suspicion, saying things like, as an immigrant, you shouldn't be looking for issues here, and pushing her to get rid of the COPA complaint. So then I met with a CCPSA lawyer, and we met with the asylum seekers at hand, and we pushed this to be investigated by the Inspector General, because they're always sending COPA complaints to BIA, which is Internal Affairs. So we did see it as kind of a conflict of interest. We are pushing it to be investigated by the Inspector General. So far, there's been no updates on that. A few months prior to that incident, there was a desk sergeant who was saying pretty xenophobic things to volunteers. I organized many volunteers, about 8. We all went to COPA and we gave kind of a joint, what would it be called? Testimony?
Yes, a joint testimony regarding the sergeant, because we all had the same experience with her. Regarding that's no forward movement. It's still sitting with COPA. It's been nearly 6 months. So those are my updates. If you all have any ideas regarding what we can do around police accountability when it comes to no forward movement, when we do try to hold them accountable to serve and protect, I'd be willing to sit down and chat.
What is COPA?
COPA is, they investigate the police, and that's their main avenue.
COPA is an acronym that stands for Civilian Office of Police Accountability.
Yeah.
So it's an independent investigative authority, so.
When COPA can't investigate and the issue is too broad, they send it over to BIA, which is Internal Affairs. And that's just CPD investigating CPD. And I feel like there may be a big conflict of interest there. And I would love to sit down and chat with people regarding their feelings around this, so we can better organize and hold police accountable, and find justice for people.
I have a question. For the first thing you mentioned, that's sitting in Bureau of Internal Affairs, or the Office of Inspector General, right? Is that what you said?
It's still in BIA, but myself and the CCPSA lawyer, we're advocating for this to be inspected by the Inspector General.
Do people in this room know what Bureau of Internal Affairs is? It's just basically the police investigating themselves, which, yeah. So, yeah, I would be interested also in hearing what you think we should do as our leader.
I'm pushing this. I think that we should all advocate for this to be investigated by the Inspector General, because I do find it to be a conflict of interest when CPD investigates CPD. I've already went through that. There was that same sergeant that I organized volunteers to go and give that testimony. She used a dog to intimidate a 15-year-old boy. It was sent over to to BIA, and when it was sent over to BIA, they required a signature to move forward with investigation, because they didn't want to provide that signature for their own safety, for fear of retaliation, which we have seen that it happens, right? Because this migrant got a menacing call from the 14th district. But she didn't want to give that signature, so her boy went intimidated by this dog, and there was no justice, because BIA requires a signature. Is there a comment? Oh yeah, sorry.
Just to clarify, in your view then, would internal affairs always be a conflict of interest?
BIA,
Or what distinguishes this situation?
yeah. This situation is distinguishing because I'm a part of it, and I'm going through the process, and I'm learning how hard it is to find accountability and justice. And that's what's different about this. But I do see it to be a conflict of interest in general.
Would you support the deconstruction of BIA and reassigning those officers to the streets on patrol?
I would support an external body investigate these crimes made by police, and
That
then
exists already as the IG?
sorry,
Does that exist already in the role of the IG?
of the Inspector General. It should, but it's really hard to push. It's really hard to push these situations to be investigated by them, because they always send it to BIA, and they find it.
But if there's no BIA and it gets deconstructed, right?
We can build a new system, and that's what the point of this is. This is a new system, in the entire nation, right? So we are experimenting, we are exploring, and that's why this is very important.
Mr. Burke.
I just want to offer some information that if you go to chicagocopa.org, they have an explanation of the list of what COPA is responsible for and what Internal Affairs is responsible for. And so you can see if that seems sensible to you, or if you think that Internal Affairs is investigating things that they shouldn't be investigating. And
Thanks for that comment, but I would like to bring someone from COPA to come in and further explain the process, so we can better understand it together. Yeah, or someone from BIA as well. Maybe both of them the same day.
You have a question for Councilor Vargas? Mr. Rizdal?
I have a comment and a suggestion.
Okay.
Sure.
The day before we went to city council around that issue of behind closed doors arbitration, and we won the first round, there was a particularly boneheaded board representative that we confronted the day before. We had a press conference there. I forgot the board representative's name. What was the name?
What?
What was the name of the?
He voted the way we wanted, so I'm not.
Oh, okay. But anyway, that put pressure on that person to vote the right way. And maybe you could have a press conference around some of those issues. Maybe that would be a way to
I
put
think that's a
pressure on
great
them.
idea, yeah. It's always good to organize and put pressure on our people who are here to serve and protect us, right? Organizing is always a great idea. Thank you for that.
I know this is not my time. Could I very quickly offer 2 points of clarification or information in reference to the Office of Inspector General, and also what Mr. Burke said. Yes, I'm sure that is a good resource. Also, if you're interested in sort of the official deep dive for the disciplinary process, that's housed on igchicago.org, and they have a flow chart with the in-depth every single possibility in the current system. So the final word is there if you do want to see that on igchicago.org. And my broad understanding, currently the IG handles corruption of government officials, and they can electively take on different cases. So cases can be made to them, but right, in the current system, COPA receives complaints, they handle a number of those complaints, they pass off a number of those to BIA, and OIG is sort of an elective body that has to choose to step in, currently. That's it. Also, I forgot one thing in my update, if I could do that before the committee. Right,
Let me make certain Council Vargas is completed.
right, of course.
I think that's all for my updates. Please pay attention to this and send people either my way or just send them the application itself. It opens Monday to February 7th. Yeah.
Is there a description of qualifications for applying for this?
Yes.
Okay.
And just before I turn it back over to Councilor Orlikoff, the youth leaders that Councilor Vargas was talking about, I don't know who was at the last meeting that we had in this location. We had a virtual visit from Commissioner Troncoso. He's one of the two youth leaders currently on the commission. And to kind of close the loop on the entire item here, Councilor Vargas and her team of nomination committee, which is comprised of all 22 districts, they're looking to find adequate replacements for the sitting commission. So that's what we're talking about here. Is that accurate?
Sure.
Additional questions?
Yes.
More of a statement, in a matter of transparency that we're all talking about, you just said a comment that sort of goes away from transparency, that you didn't want to bring up the alderman's name. So,
Should I say it? Alderman Wagasback, he said he was considering the issue for a long time, but it was days before the vote, so we were demanding a commitment. But he voted the same way all the aldermen did, and we hope that he'll vote again next time it comes around.
thank you for the clarity.
Thank you. I'll turn it back over to Councilor Orlikoff for his additional.
Sorry for ruining our timing here. This will be very brief, but I have a petition. So we've talked a lot about the pretextual traffic stops here before. Basically, pretextual, what that means is they'll stop for a minor code violation with an intent to search for things that they don't have suspicion of. So they've started a paper petition, and this is like official with the circulator. So I'm the circulator for the petition that's up there. This is not, to my knowledge, this is not written for a specific city ordinance. This is not a city resolution. However, they're going the route of having official paper petitions. So if you are interested in adding your name for community support for ending the pretextual stops, please go ahead and sign that or speak with me. Also, you can give testimony if you have experiences around that as well. Thank you. That was the addition.
All right, moving forward, let's get into our discussions. I know that you talked a little bit about police arbitration. Are there any other items that you'd like to address on that?
No, thank you. I guess I covered that. We don't have a date yet on which, so to summarize, well, okay, yeah. Police arbitration, what it means for us is basically an elimination of the police board. If an officer is suspected or found to have committed egregious misconduct that might result in them being suspended for over a year or fired, currently that's handled by the police board, which is essentially their day in court to have representation and defense and present on evidence. the decision from the arbitrator in collective bargaining would allow officers to have those cases where the superintendent and the city want to fire the officer instead to be heard by private arbitrators in private hearings, which are not public and are much less accountable. So that's it in a nutshell. We voted it down once, and it's coming back to city council, but it has not been scheduled yet, so I can't tell you when it will happen. It will first go again to the workforce committee, I believe, and then to full city council, either workforce or it might be police and fire. I'm not 100% sure. So essentially, no further information on that. Let me know if you have questions or want to get involved. There's also information on the table on what district councilors have said about that.
And Councilor Vargas, any items on police arbitration you'd like to share?
I stand against it, and that's my stance on police arbitration. I think that they're organizing to go behind doors because of this new police accountability body. They are saying that we stand stronger together, and holding them accountable for the many crimes they have done is frightening to them, and that's why they're pushing for this arbitration.
Just regarding the arbitration though, and the way I understand it though, isn't it that the Illinois state law is going to have to be changed because there's a workers' rights amendment that anybody who's a state, municipal, or county employee is eligible for arbitration if their employment is up for review. So the way I understand it is that the Illinois state law would have to be a carve out
In the Illinois Code of Civil Procedure.
Yes. So that COPA would get precedent over the arbitration process. So.
Or police
sorry.
board, you mean?
For the police board, yeah. So I just want to clarify. So what's going to happen is that the Illinois state law is going to have to be revised. So.
Right, and notwithstanding, basically removing arbitration would make the FOP 7 Lodge, the Fraternal Order of Police here in Chicago, it would make them the only union body in the state that's not eligible for arbitration. So just for visibility.
And there are carve-outs for some unions within Illinois state laws. So there is some precedent to it, but to your point, yes, it would be that.
Right, just for clarity and visibility there.
Marla and Olan have had a comment.
Okay, we'll go with.
I just wanted to really make a statement of appreciation for the district counselors and others connected to our police accountability efforts who stood up for this issue and helped be one more part of bringing the vote that we were able to get. I see this as incredibly critical for the progress that we've made over the last few years. It took years to pass ECPS, which, as people know, is how we have district counselors representing us now, and the community commission. And your point is well taken. Also very pro-labor. I just think that with the egregious transgressions that a number of police officers have carried out over the years, that this does warrant a change, and it's all part of a process to make a longer systemic change that we need in our city. So thank you.
Yeah, I want to second what Marla's saying. I want to push back on the idea that just because the FOP is a union that we should create a carve-out, because there aren't other unions in the city that try to protect their union members when they kill someone or commit a crime. And so I would just say that this carve-out is absolutely necessary.
And there are precedents for such carve-outs. It's just that that's going to have to be the legal process for it to follow.
Yes, Neil, you got your hand up?
Yeah, as far as public support goes, the rank and file members of all labor unions in the country, as far as I know, are unanimous in their view that a labor union for prison guards or police officers is just ludicrous. It's upside down and backwards. It makes no sense. I don't believe that these groups should be allowed to organize labor unions. It's an insult to organized labor, period.
I will say it's different than, What's funny?
You have a right
I don't
to
know,
do
it's
that.
just funny hearing,
Well, I just-
I don't know, I just like hearing, like cops should have their own union thing was kind of funny.
Well, I just would appreciate if you don't laugh at people in the I mean, I would appreciate if you don't laugh at people in the community.
It was
And their
sorry,
comments.
it was uncontrollable.
Oh.
It was that's what laugh
Yeah.
was.
I'm gonna
It's
call it
not
back to
okay.
order.
You didn't offend me.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got
But
thick
I
skin.
just don't
He's-
think
he's
it's
got
not
a-
okay.
he's
Okay.
got a- he's got a-
Call it to order. Please,
Um,
Councilor Vargas.
Yeah, let's all respect each other and our ideas. But I will say this is different than any other union because they do serve and protect everybody in Chicago, not a specific group of laborers. This is our tax-paying dollars that go to essentially protect people who commit crimes against people who pay their salaries, and it's not okay. It's for the public. And we should be a part of this process because it is public money.
I have a couple responses.
Okay.
Changing the state law certainly could be a solution. I think that it certainly, at least could be argued, in my mind, there's certainly legal reasons not to do away with any public transparency for police accountability. So specifically, Chicago is operating under a federal consent decree. So federal law trumps state law. It's true that state law trumps city law, so our ordinance can't change the state law, but the consent decree governs the Chicago Police Department currently. They're under 10% compliance with that. So they're under federal mandate and they have no local jurisdiction beyond that. Additionally, the Constitution, a lot of the claims brought in the consent decree relate directly to the Constitution, the highest law in the entire land, specifically related to the Bill of Rights, things like the Fourth Amendment, as well as Civil Rights Act 1964 as well in the titles. So all of those things trump any state law of Illinois. So those are all legal bases for fighting this and winning on the current present grounds. Additionally, there is no precedent, for not having a police board equivalent body of any major police force of any major U.S. city. I think 12 or 17 municipality examples were given by the arbitrator. Those are all extremely minor townships. There are a number of carve-outs for a lot of state laws specific to Chicago, and that's also present everywhere else in New York and Los Angeles, etc. Finally, law enforcement, as was said by Councilor Vargas and others, is a unique position. It's not just a job. The fact that they're part of the legal and law enforcement, apparatus means that their ability to perform that function legally under public scrutiny is necessary for us to actually have laws that have meaning. If the laws, aren't enforced the way that they're passed and understood by the community, but they're operated by how people who don't live in the city choose to enforce them in private arbitration, that's an affront to our legislature, that's an affront to our very democracy. So the governing principles behind a lot of our laws are preserving public safety and the sanctity of our governance and democracy. So all of those, trump a state law that's missing, a present carve-out. That's it.
Thank you. All right, that being said, can we consider the discussion on arbitration closed?
Yes, sir.
All right, Council Orlikoff already took care of his committee updates.
Yes.
Any committee updates from Councilor Vargas?
No.
Okay. I'm gonna yield my time to Mr. Adam Burke, who leads our, I know we're kind of working on the name here. I'll let you go ahead and take it from there for committee update.
Thank you, Councilor. So Councilor Laurent is referring to the Community Committee for Public Safety and Policing Initiatives, which is the name that we chose to be parallel with the two previously formed committees. Recapping, we had a previous meeting just before the December meeting where we agreed to request a meeting with the commander of the 14th District. We did have that meeting the day after Christmas, and so unfortunately Councilor Laurent was unable to attend, although he was planned to attend. So Councilor Laurent did pre-approve the document that I used to guide the discussion with the commander. We had that meeting, and then in the meeting just previous to this one, we reviewed the results of that discussion session, including the commander's comments on what she thought was sensible or worthwhile to follow. I do have a digital copy of that presentation, which is with Councilor Laurent. So I would ask if there are any objections to distributing that digitally to the mailing list of the committee. In addition, at the meeting that we just had, I mentioned a few issues where legal counsel, the CCPSA, is working out more detail about the operation of committees that are enabled under the statute, the CCPSA statute. And there are things like the use of the city logo, which they now recommend against. So I've already changed the logo, not to anything final, but just to make sure that I was responding to a conversation that happened June 10 and 11 last night. So we also wanted to clarify, and I made that point at the beginning of the meeting, that the committee's only role is to collect community perspective and to provide advice and support to the formally enabled CCPSA. So the committee itself has no power, no authority of any kind of a budget. Its only role is to assist the council. And so I want to make sure that that was clear to everybody, as it was previously to me as well. And then the last thing was, as a next step, we proposed at the meeting to have our next committee meeting immediately before the March meeting of the CCPSA District Council, whenever you announce that.
Thank you. All right, thank you, Mr. Burke. We're gonna go ahead and keep moving forward with our agenda here. It looks like we're making some good time, and I'd like to keep it that way. We've got awesome weather to deal with. All right, let's talk about this upcoming meeting schedule. I know it's been brought to my attention from the staff that we'd like to project out for the year what our meeting locations look like. However, that creates a little bit of an issue, and I'm open to discussion with my colleagues here. Because essentially what we like to do is we like to make certain that they're accessible, publicly accessible, and that they're safe. So anything that provides a hazard that anybody can walk into, we don't want anybody to get hurt. But we want everybody to participate in this ground level version of government here. What we've done thus far has been utilizing Chicago Public Library, as you can see here today, and we like to continue that trend. Part of the issue here, and I'll let Councilor Orlikoff elaborate a little bit, because he could probably put it together better than I could, about the challenges with scheduling with the libraries.
Sure. There's an online feature to reserve rooms, including this room, and there's a limit in how far in advance you can go, which is maybe under 90 days. So for the next 2 months, this room is reserved by another group that I have no knowledge of, and this is one of our favorite locations, but unfortunately, through this, through the typical means, I won't be able to reserve it in advance for a full yearly schedule. I will try to speak after this meeting with some library staff and see if that is possible. Our next 2 meetings, we have the Humboldt Park location reserved. The government meeting room there is not available for public reservation, so that's always reserved privately through the library branch manager. So yeah, I had wanted to formalize our approach to finding meeting locations, but the problem of not being able to necessarily guarantee our first choice presents a little bit of an issue for that. So, I'm not exactly sure how to continue. Like, one option is to meet here every time or as often as possible, because this is our preference. The other considerations are moving around the ward more. There's 3 libraries. There's the Wicker Park Library, which honestly is not our favorite because the meeting room is on the second floor, and we've had less engagement when we go there. This is generally the best. The Humboldt Park is also a good option. So the question is if we should be rotating evenly or, you know, give preference to the better spaces.
And there's no objections. I'm gonna kind of open this up to a little bit more of a public interaction aspect. If it's just the three of us, we'll get a lot of things done very quickly, but it kind of removes the visibility of you. I'm under the opinion that these rooms look much better with people in them, so we want to cater to the public as well. So far, how have we been doing as far as meeting accessibility and timing and everything like that? So I'd like to hear from anyone that has any opinion they'd like to share. Yes, Mr. Risdell.
Well, for instance, if, what, like the present to the future, if there's somebody in a wheelchair that really has an interest in being in this room, for example, they should be able to get to the meeting.
Absolutely.
Wicker Park does have an elevator, FYI.
Right. Yeah, and that's part of the safe and accessible aspect of things that I kind of lean to. But thank you for your input there. Anyone else want to share any?
Personally, I would say even though this is my home library, I think it's probably good to circulate through the libraries, mainly so other people can voice their opinion from their own home library or whatever. I would say that just getting the information out that you're meeting might facilitate more people showing up. So if you're at Wicker Park or Humboldt, make it very known. I don't know how you do that at the library or the community. Make it very known in advance. You will be at Wicker Park, and then maybe the crowd will come later. But I, like I said, even though this is the most convenient, I think it's actually a good idea to rotate to give the other neighbors a chance to get their convenient.
Couldn't agree more. Thank you for your comments.
Hi, is the Bucktown Library a possibility as well?
That's the library that
that's
Councilor
the one.
Orlikoff was talking
Okay.
about. That's on the second floor. And not to take anything away, I think it's a magnificent place. But like he said, I think the engagement level, it kind of dwindles a little bit when people realize, oh, I gotta go through this other challenging thing going upstairs. And it's dimly lit in there too, so it not the best, not the most suitable location, I should say.
But they use it to vote. It's a voting place too.
Right.
So people do show up there.
Right, but
It's just living in that part of the neighborhood, there's a lot of people over there who don't know about this.
right.
And that's where you're saying, okay, we're saying on the west side, the east side needs to know about this.
Well, right, and to add to that, the Wicker Park Bucktown Library has also been doing a lot of renovations to the structure surrounding the building, the sidewalks and curbs. So it's,
That is repaired now.
as Mr. Risdall had pointed out, accessibility for ADA, you know, that's one of the things that I kind of frown upon as well. So, I mean, and it's very good, valid comments and good points.
So that was the question, and then my comment is, I think you all have done a really great job of being consistent. I love that you pick one day of the week. It's usually the first Saturday of the month. It helps me establish a discipline and prioritize these meetings, so thanks. I appreciate it.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah, I do think getting the location out as soon as you know it is really important, because for a while on the citywide CCPSA, it had the wrong location.
Right.
For a couple of months, so we need to make sure.
That it's edited accordingly.
Yeah, that wherever we are meeting, and I do like any of the public libraries are good for me.
Right, well, to that point, and I don't mean to cut you off, Ms. Amon, the way the boundaries we kind of have to adhere to, they want us to sit there and put out our meeting for the year. So for all of 2024, they're expecting, like tomorrow or Monday rather, for us to sit there and commit to a location for the year of 2024. The challenges that Councilor Orlikoff had kind of clearly spoke about, the 90-day window that we're available kind of creates a little bit of a pivot point for us. Previously, in we do have a default location available, and that's what you were probably referring to, where sending
Somewhere
people.
on Kedzie.
Right, on the VFW hall on Kedzie, that's a default location, and that's a little, I don't see it to be self-serving, it's just that I have 24/7 access to that location because of my membership with the VFW. And so it's like, worst case scenario, that's, you know, nothing else is available, we'll have that available to us.
But if
That
you-
was the thinking there.
But if you go up, if you're confused which library it's gonna meet in, I
Right.
went on to that website and said Kenzie.
Right.
Which is none of the libraries, so I think we need to, I mean, it may be a good default situation, but we need to make sure that we're consistent about where we're putting those locations.
I couldn't agree more. Yeah, ideally, we could sit here and talk with every branch manager of the public library and have it set up.
Yep.
Unfortunately, that's something that we don't have a grip on, but, you know, and I agree with you completely, though. I'm not,
Is it possible to change the location on, you know?
that's a great question. I wish I could go in there and press a button today and say, no, we're gonna be at Humboldt Park next, you know.
Let's ask Anna, is that possible?
It's possible to change the locations. The 2024 schedule, for the OMA purposes, lists the whole year, sometimes with placeholder locations. It's a PDF that says, please click here for the most updated information. The updated 48-hour notices that go up 48 hours before are the most accurate thing.
Right.
So in 2024, the state law says an elected body has to put forward dates all the way up until October, November, and December. In January, those locations are hard to get, and it is a challenge to update all the things that we have to update. The PDF literally says, please check here before you, for the most updated information. The PDF is the hardest thing for us to change, but there is the notice and agenda on their individual 14-page, and then there's a monthly public calendar that also gets updated.
I will try to see if we can reserve library spaces into the future, in which case we would have a more accurate annual calendar.
Right.
What are the months that you guys need to figure out for this specific library? Because for the first next 2 months, it's booked, but we're not having a meeting here for the next 2 months
We're-
because of,
Just to echo that, Humboldt Park Library is gonna be our next two meetings.
okay. So you have 3 months to get this space again for April.
Right.
Okay, we can do that, okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Burke?
So just throwing in my support, I think that libraries are excellent for all sorts of good reasons, and it's happens to be a city property. And so my suggestion would be that we put down the aspirational locations for the full year, which would be these library locations. And if we can't secure them, then to update the location within 60 days of the meeting so that people have a chance to adjust their plans, but, just as you indicated.
That,
If
the
we can
list
get,
that-
if we can get the
yeah.
libraries 90 days in advance, then that still gives 60 days notice.
To be fair, and I wanna make certain I'm capturing the spirit properly. And so basically, you want as much advance notice as possible, even if I say, hey, in November, we're gonna be meeting here, like, don't take that as gospel. But,
It can always be changed within 48
Right,
hours. and
right,
that
so, but
just-
you'd much rather know when November's meeting is happening,
Let's-
today than
let's
to
say
find out.
alternate between these two libraries, and
Understood.
if it changes, okay, we'll have 60 days notice at least.
All right, and part of my resolution is to get better at everything I do. And this is actually very constructive criticism that I'm gonna put forth the effort.
The sensing we're maybe approaching a wrap up, I'd like to, so we had some definite takeaways as you're, like, the libraries are good, and you want it to be, right, stated, and also you want better outreach around it, I also wrote down, including into all the neighborhoods, east side as well. The one open question that I still have, I guess, you know, is the understanding that everyone here wants us to equally rotate, or is it okay to have fewer meetings at the locations that seem to offer less ease of use? We could still go there sometimes, or is what the message we're getting to rotate as evenly as possible, or just to make sure that we have some representation?
Personally, I think a little more consistency is actually better for everybody, so if there is one location, Wicker Park, that we think is worse than the other two, maybe instead of having 1/3 of the meetings there, we could just have 1/4 of the meetings there and prioritize these other two locations.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
I would disagree with that, because I think since this is a new thing, I don't think everybody knows about it. So I think the more you rotate, the more people will, from the other neighborhoods will get on board, hopefully. Or at least for the next year, at least try, and then maybe the next year, if that's not happening, you reassess for whatever you did.
I second this because when we do have it at Wicker Park, we get people who don't usually come to the Logan Square Humboldt Park one, and they show up to the Wicker Park one, or the vice versa with the Humboldt Park Library. Rotating the entire district is important.
Right, and I'll agree to all points. I think we need to be consistent, we need to be proactive in scheduling to make certain that we're putting out the information that's needed and if people want to participate in this. So it's kind of a happy medium between the two comments there, and of course I agree with Councilor Vargas. I want to see as many constituents as possible at these meetings.
There was another.
I agree, rotation is where it is.
And can I just add to what you're
Certainly,
saying? The consistency of the first Saturday of the month at a library in your area is, I think, consistent enough for people to know to check. You know, if we have 3 libraries, we're not talking 30, we're talking 3, or if there's more added.
Yeah, before a year.
So given all of this, then putting it together, what that means is that I will see if Bucktown Wicker Park is available for March. February will be in Humboldt Park, and then ideally that would be the rotating schedule where April is back at Logan. I will need to talk to administrators if it's possible to schedule in the future in advance.
Just one more thing.
Yes, ma'am.
I know that you were talking about the access with the
88
streets, and they
Blythe
were undergoing construction. Logan Square just months ago was undergoing that construction, and I believe that the libraries, the properties in front were all undergoing construction at some point or something like that. So, they did have access still into the library. So even if there's construction, I believe that there would be a way for even people in wheelchairs or disabilities to be able to access the library
Right,
still.
it created a challenge is primarily what I didn't say they weren't allowing.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know
Right.
that Logan, I think, already went through their construction outfit, unless it happens again.
All right, so with that in mind, the important takeaway here is we're gonna maintain first Saturday of every month for these meetings, and we're gonna rotate around the district. The next one is scheduled to be at Humboldt Park until further notice from Council Orlikoff, who's looking into securing.
That one's confirmed. That will definitely be February.
No,
Humboldt Park.
but March is what we're.
Yeah, we have. I will have to see if Wicker's
Right.
available for March.
We're awaiting further instruction from Councilor Vargas.
Sorry, I misheard you before.
All right, so let's close that out. Commotion, CCPSA Commission application call. I think we kind of covered that earlier with Councilor Vargas' updates, unless you have anything further you'd like to add.
No.
Councilor Orlikoff, anything on that?
Share it. Besides the physical papers, there are online versions. If you need us to send you, let us know. But please share it with friends, family, colleagues. Thanks.
I will say something though. I did find interest in talking to folks before this started, as bringing in the commander as a special guest to a committee, and I wonder how council feels about that. And not only will she be a special guest, but together, maybe next meeting, we can come up with the questions we'd like to ask her as a unit, to get everything we want out of her visit. Because as Adam showed, she is busy and she doesn't work Saturdays, so it'd be important for us to advertise that she's coming so we can get questions answered that we want answered. Yeah?
I think that's a great idea, but I would recommend, based on other meetings that I've been to where the alders and the police have been present, initially they didn't want to do a public comment, and I think it was through great protest from the audience that they said you can't hold a town hall. The messaging is off if you call it a town hall and you don't let people ask questions, just like with the arbitration and not letting people in. I think if we're gonna do that, I think pre-submitting questions in advance is a great idea, but I think there also should be a period of time carved out within that meeting that people can just ask impromptu questions.
Well, right,
It's my opinion.
And it's baked into our agenda.
The 20
where-
minute.
Where we have the 20-minute, and
Okay.
as the chair, and, you know, upon approval from my colleagues, we can extend that a little bit, or we can even shrink it if need be.
Could I ask
So-
a clarifying question
Yeah.
about Councilor Vargas? Sorry about what you
Yeah.
were stating. So were you saying at our February meeting, we would discuss questions to raise for the commander, inviting the commander to come to our March 14th District Council meeting, or were you talking about setting up a separate meeting?
Well, I wanted to bring it up to council to see how they feel about it, to have her as a
Yeah.
special guest.
But here in March, right?
Would March be good? I don't know.
Sure.
Well, we can definitely work out the kinks in there and smooth it out.
But it wouldn't be, frequent or anything. It would be a special guest.
Sounds good.
Well, if you're, I mean, I don't
And we
think
can
it's-
come up, maybe in February, we can come up with questions to ask her.
Alright.
And maybe, if the public wants, like, to say anything about this, I'm very open to inviting her or not inviting her.
Cool.
So, okay, so with that being said, we're gonna go ahead and put on next month's agenda, that we're gonna have a official vote to make her a distinguished visitor. Yes, ma'am.
I just heard that you might do the Wicker Park in March and that's a less ideal location. Do you wanna invite the commander on a date that you're at a less ideal location?
It's not a less ideal location, part of our 14th district.
Well,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah,
that, you bring up a good point, and it's not so much that it's a less ideal, it doesn't work as well for the full body of the community, in my opinion.
I have no opinion, I just.
Right, no, I mean, and I, you know, a little bit of backstory about our commander. She's relatively new to our district. Since we've been holding these meetings, she's moved in to our district as the commander. So I think that, you know, it'd be a good outreach event for her as well. But of course, you know, as far as approving her to come as a distinguished guest for one of the meetings, that's something that we would put up to a vote, to where, as Councilor Vargas had mentioned, that, you know, based upon approval, it sounds a lot like we need to vote on that. So we'll put that on the agenda as an agenda item to discuss and to vote on.
I think the important agenda item is a discussion for the content of that
Right.
meeting as well.
Right.
Yeah.
As far as whether the votes, I'm not sure if the vote is necessary or not. If we set that she'll be on the agenda, but I'm not, we can have the vote, that's fine. But as long as we also discuss the content for that meeting.
No, I mean, that's why I'm trying to front load it as wholesale for our next meeting. That's what we're gonna start focusing on, our interaction with the commander. Make certain that everybody's in it and is gonna be comfortable with her being there, and that we are gonna make a valued time investment for her. That's what we're looking at doing in our next discussion for next month. All right? So,
Okay.
All right, so, last item that I have, and a little bit of question when we put it on the agenda. The Office of Inspector General has put out 2 publications. I have these 2 copies. Anyone that wants to steal them from me, you're more than welcome. I've got them digital. I can share them with you via the email mailing list as well. But these are some proposed projects. One is the Public Safety Outlook on Police Oversight and Accountability, and the other is the Audit and Program Review of the 2024 draft plan. I can't really say that it's as extensive as War and Peace on each one of these, or but it's a little bit more visibility and oversight as far as to how the Office of Inspector General operates and what their budget's used to. So anyone that's interested in that, like I said, you can steal one of these from me, and I can share them via digital email. All right, any comments on that? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and our next item would be votes, but we have no votes scheduled for today. So we're gonna go ahead and move on to, our next meeting is going to be at Humboldt Park.
Sir.
And
February 3rd.
February 3. Thank you very much. And that's gonna be at 1 p.m. As usual. Can I get a motion to close the meeting?
Motion to close the meeting.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All right. Adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Happy New Year once again.
Do you have the,